Mr. Mayor, we are live.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment scheduled for Thursday, April the 7th, 2022. It is 6:45 p.m. and I will call this Committee of Adjustment to order. We have, I will then ask for any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. I see none noted. This evening, we have two applications. We have the first application from Andrew and Kim Hutink. It's request for a minor variance application A-23/21. Andrew and Kim Hutink. The purpose of the variance is to grant relief from zoning bylaw regulation section 5.4 minimum lot frontage to permit minimum lot frontage of 50 meters. That's 164 feet, whereas 150 meters or 492 feet is the permitted minimum for lands located at concession 10, part lots 20 and 21 at the east end of Green Line. The effect of this variance will be to permit reduced minimum lot frontage on an open maintained road, including the applicant entering into a development agreement with the municipality for the applicant to upgrade and extend the municipal roadway on a 50 meter by 20.1 meter, 665 feet portion of unopened road to municipal standards where the existing zero lot frontage is improved to permit future development on the subject lands. The applicants were unable to find contractors to complete the road upgrade during the previous approval timeframe. So this is a revisitation. At this point, I will ask for a staff presentation. Margaret.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee. Just quickly, one typo in the effect paragraph, 20.1 meters should be 66 feet, not 665. I apologize for that.
Wow.
Didn't catch that one.
Thank you.
So before you is the report, and yes, it is a resubmission. The committee will recall we considered this previously and did grant a minor variance for the reduced frontage. We are revisiting it because the Hutinks were unable to secure a contractor to do the road construction and enter into the development agreement with council within the 60-day requirement. So they have secured a contractor, they have the estimate, they have things ready to go. So we're revisiting the minor variance in order to instill the minor variance once again for their property. And in this case, we are giving lots of time, but we're saying they could enter into the agreement within a year. And I think in future, just for committee information, we'll be looking at a longer time frame to get into these types of agreements for these reasons. So I was overzealous in thinking they could get it done in 60 days. So we're back with this one. I don't anticipate any complications or changes, just to reinstate the variance. And I will let the committee know that the agreement is drafted and the Hutinks are reviewing it right now. And I do anticipate it coming to council the next meeting. So I will leave it with you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone here representing the applicant or agent this evening?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any public submissions regarding this minor variance application?
There are none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Time for any questions from the committee and or discussion? Any questions, any consideration? All right, seeing done, we have the decision of the committee. We have a motion that reads that the Committee of Adjustment Secretary Treasurer's Report DS-13/22 regarding the Hutink minor variance be received, and that the Committee of Adjustment considered all written and oral submissions received on the application, the effect of which helped the committee to make an informed decision, and that application A-23/21 is a resubmission of a previously approved minor variance on November the 4th, 2021, due to unfulfilled conditions. And whereas the committee agrees that the proposed variance as presented meets section 45.11 of the Planning Act and is considered minor. Therefore, resubmitted application A 23/21 by Andrew and Kim Hutink pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act for a minor variance is granted to allow relief from Municipality of Bayham zoning bylaw Z 456, 2003, section 5.4 minimum lot frontage, to permit a minimum lot frontage of 50 meters, 164 feet, whereas 150 meters, 492 feet is the permitted minimum on the agricultural A1A subject lands. Condition, development agreement for Green Line Road extension to be executed within 1 year of the minor variance approval. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Chilcott, seconded by Deputy Mayor Weisler. All in favor?
Committee Member Donnell,
Yes.
Committee Member Froese,
Yes.
Committee Member Chilcott,
Yes.
Committee Member Weisler,
Yes.
and Chair Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you for that, Megan. Obviously, I got my committees mixed up, but anyway, committee members. Motion for adjournment that the Committee of Adjustment hearing for consideration of minor variance application A-23/21 be adjourned at 6:52 p.m. And that in accordance with the regulations of the Planning Act, notices of decision be circulated by the Secretary Treasurer accordingly. A mover and seconder, please. Committee Member Weisler and Committee Member Donald. All in favor?
Committee Member Donnell,
Yes.
Committee Member Froese,
Yes.
Committee Member Chilcott,
Yes.
Committee Member Weisler,
Yes.
and Chair Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Moving on with the second minor variance application, A-02/22, Casey White and Natalie LaChance. The purpose of the variance is to grant relief from zoning bylaw regulations in section 4.2C, accessory uses, section 9.7, maximum floor area for an accessory building, and section 9.10, minimum rear yard setback to permit maximum combined accessory building floor area of 210 square meters. That's 2,260 square feet, whereas 75 square meters or 807 square feet is the permitted maximum, and to grant relief from section 5.2 permitted uses in the agricultural A1 zone for accessory uses on a lot with two zones, agricultural A1 and hamlet residential zones, to permit accessory building to the residential use in the A1 zone, to permit 0 minimum rear yard setback for the proposed accessory building located on a portion of the A1 and HR zone lands where the zone boundary for lands with split zoning is considered a lot line, and to permit an accessory building in the front yard, whereas accessory buildings are not permitted in the front yard for lands located at 57258 Eden Line, north side, west of Ridge Line in the hamlet of Eden. The effect of this variance will be to recognize the existing barn with a 60.2 square meter, 680 or 48 square feet floor area, and an existing shed with floor area of 8.9 square meters, 96 square feet, to the rear of the lot, and permit a portion of the proposed accessory building as permitted buildings and structures accessory to the existing dwelling. To recognize the existing shed and floor area of 42.7 square meters, 460 square feet, which is located in the front yard, whereas accessory buildings are not permitted in the front yard, and to permit the development of an accessory building garage with floor area of 97.7 square meters, that's 1,051 square feet, to be located in the rear of the new dwelling constructed in 2020 and located on A1 and HR zoned portions of the lot. This time we'll entertain the staff presentation. Margaret?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this one, there's a lot of detail that the chairman just read out for you all. So I'll try and tell you what the White application is trying to do. They do wish to construct a garage behind their house. And in doing that, because the property is dual zoned, which means They have an HR zone from their front lot line to an area behind their house, and then it is an A1 zone. Their property is actually split between being in the hamlet and out of the hamlet. So the garage is actually going to be placed on that imaginary line that falls between the HR and the A1 zone. So we have to recognize that the HR imaginary zone line is actually the lot line. And that's how you have to recognize it in the zoning bylaw. So we have to recognize a variance with the 0 setback on that imaginary HR line. So I'm hoping I'm explaining that for you clearly. Things have changed a bit between the time the notice went out and the meeting. The Whites have indicated that the structure in the front yard, the shop or the garage in the front yard, will be removed. And you will see in the report, one of the conditions is that the existing accessory building located in the front yard should be removed within 6 months of the approval of the minor variance. So they have indicated they're going to remove that building. So that changes a couple of things, as I noted in the 3rd paragraph in the report. The revised purpose of the variance is looking at granting relief to the maximum floor area and to the minimum rear yard setback, and relief from section 5.2, which is the permitted uses in an A1 zone, to allow for that garage. So slightly different than what the notice went out, but minor in nature. In fact, it improves the situation. They're removing the garage in the front yard, and that takes away that variance that we have to consider. So going on from there, the other condition that is noted in the recommendation deals with grading. Staff did take a look at the grading plan from the house that was built in 2020, and the grades do indicate that surface water drainage goes to the area where the garage is proposed. So staff do have a concern with that. So the recommendation includes the requirement for a grading plan to show that the surface water will be managed properly. I will go more into detail about some of the drainage when we talk about public submission. So I will turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is the applicant present this evening? Does he wish to make a presentation?
Casey White is online. If he wishes to speak, he has opportunity.
I am here, but I have no real presentation other than just notifying you that I'm just trying to clean things up from having an old shop in the front there and getting rid of it and trying to make it very aesthetically pleasing for the area.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Marg, has there been any public submissions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is one submission from a neighbor who's located a couple of doors to the east. They do have a concern about drainage and the placement of where the garage is going to go and how it may affect their property and the neighbor's property or neighboring properties. He's asking that the committee consider the relocation of the garage because of the effects it may have on drainage. He states the surface water runs through the backyards of 4 properties and not just his own. This can be also viewed as the damming of natural flow. He would like to invite committee member or members to visit the property prior to any approval. And he wanted me to forward that request to the committee. He would also like to request that if a building is approved, that it be the same distance of the east property line as the house dwellings, so not to disturb the existing 40-year-old windbreak that is between the properties. But the main concern is drainage. Apparently there is existing water issues on these properties. So the concern that putting another structure in this area will worsen that. Staff don't have any research to show that at the present time. But again, I repeat what I said about the recommendation. We're asking for a lot grading plan because we did look at the grading plan from the house construction. And because the water was being directed to this lower area where the garage is proposed, staff are concerned that there may be an issue that comes up with that structure in that location. So I think it's worth looking at through a grading plan. But again, all of this information that we received on April the 5th, that was circulated to the committee, you have copy of that correspondence, and it's before the committee for your consideration. And I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's move on with committee questions and discussion. Committee members? Committee member Donald.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Margaret, I am wondering, what does the grading plan have in place that's going to handle the water, that we can assure these, the homeowner and the neighbors, that the water will be dealt with?
Well, through the chair to committee member Donald, I would say by asking for the lot grading plan, we have to have it as an engineered plan. There has to be directional flow shown on that plan, that there will not be water going onto the neighbor's property. Again, staff looking at the original grading plan, there may be potential there for an issue. So we want to ensure that this garage is not going to exacerbate that situation, that it can be managed properly. I do say that the concerns from the neighbor, of course, they've got water issues, they're valid concerns. I don't have any documentation or anything telling me that putting a garage where it's going is going to worsen that situation. That may be an existing situation that has maybe nothing to do with the placement of this garage. If there's an existing water drainage from the agricultural lands from the north, I don't know where that problem can be solved.
Right.
So what we can look at right now is this garage, the placement of the garage, and how the surface water is managed on that property.
Thank you, Margaret.
Any other questions from committee members? Okay, just to reiterate, Marg, then the intention of the grading plan is to mitigate the concerns of residents for water, surface water. Whose responsibility is it to ensure that the grading plan is implemented?
Well, through you, Chair, to the committee, ultimately the responsibility lies on the property owner.
Yes, but
they have to ensure that the grades as per the engineered grading plan are met. And then when the construction, or sorry, when the building permit application is reviewed, the CBO would ensure that the grading plan is appropriate and that it's been presented appropriately. And the final grades would have to be confirmed after construction. And that would be through the engineer or through a surveyor, but it would have to be confirmed when done.
Thank you, Mark. That I wanted you to put that on the record, just to try to mitigate any concerns out there that should the committee wishes to move forward and do this and request the grading plan and an update, that steps are being taken to try to protect the neighbors. Okay. Committee member Chilcott.
Thank you. Margaret, you mentioned something about a windbreak, an existing windbreak. Does the current location or the current wanted location of the garage affect that? Or would it be affected by the new position that they're asking for?
To be quite upfront to the committee, that point to mention just came in at about 5:15 this afternoon. So I'm not quite sure the exact location of the windbreak. I think it's north of this location, but perhaps Casey could provide some more detail on that, because looking at the aerial mapping, which I did quickly before the meeting, I think the windbreak is north, but I could be wrong on that. I'm just looking at aerial mapping. Casey, if you could have any comment about a windbreak that's along the property line?
Yes, there was windbreak between myself and my closest east neighbor, and they had cut all the branches all the way up to 12 feet, so that eliminated that windbreak. But the concern from the complainant was, I went out and measured it last night, and that from where I want to put the building, the end of the building is about 10 to 15 feet away from that windbreak, so there would be no effect to the windbreak from my property to their property.
Okay, Casey or Mr. Chair, could I ask Mr. White a question?
Yes, please.
Casey, the proposed location of the garage is 6 feet from the shared lot line. Is there any consideration for setting that back a bit farther from the lot line?
Yes, I can definitely, if that's going to help with drainage and reduce the cause of any issues with the windbreaks, I'm more than willing to oblige.
Okay, because I think when you're designing the garage and you get the grading plan for the surface water for the house and garage, because that all has to be looked at, there may be a requirement in order to get proper grades that you set that garage further back from that lot line. So I would ask that be taken into consideration as a recommendation, Mr. Chair, if the committee agrees with me. But I think there needs to be some consideration for a larger setback, perhaps from that tree line. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, just want to confirm with you, Mr. White, that seemed to be, you'll give some due consideration to that? To moving
Yes.
yes, okay. All right, thank you. Okay, Marg, then have you got an addition or something you wish to make to the motion that as a condition?
It's a side yard setback, which is not subject to the variances.
All right.
So I would say not necessary. I think it's going to be based on that lot grading plan, really.
All right, so the placement of the building would be dependent upon the lot grading plan, and that, is that implied?
I would like it to be implied if we need to state that. That a lot grading plan showing the grades around the house and garage, taking into consideration an increased side yard setback, be submitted for municipal approval. Would that satisfy the committee?
Sure. When it comes to that condition, I may ask you to put your verbiage in there for that.
Okay.
Before we leave the this portion of, though, is there any other questions from the committee members? Yes, committee member Weisler.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Chair. Just to confirm, if that changes, that condition changes, will the homeowner be responsible to come back to the committee again? Or if we change that verbiage to include that there may be a different placement of the garage, he'll be okay to proceed if this goes through this evening?
Through the chair to the committee, I would say because the side yard setback is not subject to these variances, that the placement could be changed in that respect. And the review of the lot grading plan would be at the CBO's discretion, that it meets what it needs to meet. And that the variance that you're agreeing to tonight is not including that side yard. So I don't believe it would have to come back, committee member.
Okay, any other or additional questions? Anything further? All right, we have a motion before us that reads that the Committee of Adjustment Secretary Treasurer's Report DS 1422 regarding the White minor variance be received, and that the Committee of Adjustment considered all written and oral submissions received on this application, the effect of which helped the committee to make an informed decision. And whereas the committee agrees that the proposed variance as presented meets section 45(1)(1) of the Planning Act and is considered minor. Therefore, application A0222 by Casey White and Natalie LaChance pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act for a minor variance is granted to allow relief from Municipality of Bayham zoning bylaw number Z456/2003, section 5.2. Permitted uses in the agricultural A1 zone for accessory uses on a lot with two zones, agricultural A1 and Hamlet residential HR zones, to permit 3 accessory use buildings accessory to the residential dwelling use. 1
Sorry, Chair, Mr. Chair, that should be in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the HR zone located in or partially in the A1 zone. Section 9.7, maximum floor area for an accessory building to permit a maximum combined accessory building floor area of 97.7 square meters. That's 1,052 square feet, whereas 75 square meters or 807 square feet is the permitted maximum. Section 9.10, minimum rear yard setback to permit 0 minimum rear yard setback for the proposed accessory building located on a portion of the A1 and HR zoned lands where the zone boundary for lands with split zoning is considered a lot line. Conditions: 1, that the existing 42.7 square meter, 460 square foot accessory building located in the required front yard be removed within 6 months of the conditional approval of this minor variance. And Marg, I'll have you read condition number 2.
Condition 2, that a lot grading plan showing the grades around the house and garage with consideration for an increased side yard setback be submitted for municipal approval prior to the finalization of the building permit for the garage.
Okay, anyone interested in moving and seconding that? Committee member Donald, committee member Chilcott will second. All in favor?
Committee member Donald,
Yes.
committee member Froze,
Yes.
committee member Chilcott,
Yes.
committee member Weisler,
Yes.
Chair Ketchabah,
Yes.
carried.
Moving on to the adjournment motion that the Committee of Adjustment hearing for consideration of minor variance application A0222 be adjourned at 7:14 p.m. And that in accordance with the regulations of the Planning Act, notices of decision be circulated by the Secretary Treasurer accordingly. Mover and seconder, please. Committee member Donald, seconded by committee member Froze. All in favor?
Committee member Donald,
Yes.
committee member Froze,
Yes.
committee member Chilcott,
Yes.
committee member Weisler,
Yes.
Chair Ketchabah,
Yes.
carried.
Good. So we will now move on with our regular agenda, and I would welcome everyone for attending this evening, our regular council meeting for Thursday, April the 7th, 2022. We're a little late this evening beginning, but it is 7:15 p.m. and I will call this a council meeting to order. I will ask for any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof from council members. I see none noted. Review of items not listed on the agenda, and I don't believe there are any this evening. Are there, Thomas?
No, Mr. Mayor, no additions.
Okay, let's move on with section 4 announcements. Does anyone have any announcements for this evening? Councillor Chilcott.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to, on behalf of the Straffordville Hall Foundation, remind everyone that this next Friday, Good Friday, April 15th at 10 o'clock is the Easter egg hunt in the Straffordville Park. And be there before 10 because it starts at 10 sharp, and I think they gather them up within like 5 minutes and you'll lose out. Also in support of that Easter egg hunt and the Santa Claus parade information, they are selling 50/50 tickets that will be drawn on Mother's Day. So if you want tickets and you want to support them, please feel free to contact one of the members.
Thank you for that. Councillor Donald, you had your hand up?
Yes, I did, Your Worship. I'd just like to say that last night at the Long Point Conservation Region Authority, the Stewardship Award was presented to Mr. Paul DeCluet. Paul is a great supporter of conservation, and he likes to start the North Carolinian tulip trees and he gives them away. He donated a tract of forestry property to Norfolk County, which is now available for people to enjoy on trail walks and the forest. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other announcements this evening? Thomas, you have a couple?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have two quick announcements. The first is regarding the election. Excuse me. The prescribed election form is now available on the municipal website. We've been updating our election forms, and the MMAH just recently released updated ones for the 2022 election. They are live, so if there's anyone out there that's interested in putting a nomination package together, forms are available on the website. Second comment is regarding the upcoming candidate information session at the East Elgin Community Complex. This is occurring on Wednesday, April the 27th, 7 to 9 p.m. It is presented by the MMAH. Registration can be done through the municipality or the Township of Malahide, and we do have a link on our website for the registration as well.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? I just have one announcement. It's a happy announcement. I noticed in the paper, and it was brought to attention by Councillor Donnell earlier this evening, that we have a 75th wedding anniversary occurring on this Saturday on the 9th for Bob and Margaret Howie, and they are to be congratulated for 75 blissful years. I happen to know them very well, and I congratulate them. If there are no other announcements, we will move on with our presentations for this evening. And I'm pleased to welcome Inspector Mark Lucas, Detachment Commander, delivering the 2021 annual OPP report. Welcome to Bayham, Inspector.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Bayham Council. Thank you very much for having me tonight. It's my honor and privilege to be here with you this evening just to present our 2021 annual report. And if you prefer, I can either share my screen or if you just want to run through the presentation I submitted, we can do it that way as well. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I would like to just go over some of the highlights from our report. If you start to scroll down through our report, what's very important is the message that you'll see before you from the Police Services Board. This document is shared with members of our detachment, and they really do like getting the feedback from the mayor and the chair and members of the Police Services Board, because it helps to recognize the work that they're doing. You'll see that there is a message there from Board Chair Mayor Sally Martin, and below that was just my brief message to our community and to our detachment based on my new arrival at the detachment in July, and I'm very happy to be your detachment commander here in Elgin County. As we move through the report, you'll just get a brief overview of what our organizational chart looks like. This is our complement currently right now. We are hopeful that the results of the new provincial police service delivery model will be released soon, and I'm anticipating an increase in our complement. And I have a rough idea of where I think we're going to be. I don't want to disclose that yet until I know for sure. But I am optimistic and very positive that our numbers will increase. Additionally, I did want to share with you that we are going through an amalgamation with the Chatham County OPP detachment. And what that means for our county and our community is basically enhanced presence, not only on our 401, but additional resources that will be available to assist us and help us with specialized policing within Elgin County. So I'm very pleased with that amalgamation, and I anticipate that to be done in June of this year. As we move through, you'll see a dated picture with Inspector Fishley regarding our auxiliary unit. And the reason is simply with COVID and during this last year, we have not had a great deal of auxiliary in attendance at our detachment. However, even with that, they were still able to log over 191 hours, and they were extremely beneficial and helpful during these recent protests in Ottawa and in Windsor. So they do remain a vital part of our detachment. As we move through, you'll see basically highlights from our 2020 to 2022 detachment action plan. We've been very focused on our priorities, which are crime, traffic safety, and other. In other, we're focused on really generating efficiencies within detachment through the use of our collision reporting center and the implementation of our MCERT, or Mental Crisis Response Team, which has had a profound effect within our community. Has generated efficiencies for us within the St. Thomas Elgin General Hospital. You'll see that our crime management plan within Elgin County, we have a very comprehensive plan. It's administered through Detective Sergeant Victoria Laux, and she also does oversee not only our crime unit, but our community street crimes unit and our CSCU, which is basically responsible for dealing with the majority of property crimes and drug investigations within Elgin County. As we scroll through, you'll see traffic management strategy. I know I've dealt with many citizens from BAM and across our county, specifically dealing with traffic occurrences and traffic complaints. We do have a traffic management unit within our detachment, and these members have been extremely beneficial in helping me to engage with our community. When complaints have been received by my detachment, then I'm able to deploy our resources, and the members that are assigned to the complaints are able to report back to the citizens of the community. So there is that constant loop of information flowing back and forth, and they're able to see results. As you scroll through, you'll see our policing, community policing committees. We do have a very well-established network of community policing committees, and we're hoping COVID really has hampered our community policing committees, but now as things are starting to slowly progress and open, we're hoping to engage more within our communities. The Ontario Mobilization and Engagement model of community policing is a model that we adhere to, and it is followed and practiced within our community policing committees. As we scroll through, I really like to focus on the areas that we've focused on within our community policing mobilization, which is down just a little bit further. We're really focused on community drug and alcohol strategy development, elder abuse prevention, mental health and crisis response team, police and hospital transition framework, senior and fraud scams, and our rapid response group for Alzheimer's. So we've had a tremendous success, which I'll touch on later on in the presentation. Back in 2018, so before my time here at the detachment, I was aware that a situation table was established, and it still remains in effect to deal specifically in terms of a comprehensive drug and alcohol strategy. This strategy has been focused on prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and then justice and community safety. It is an ongoing group, and I'm proud to say that it is still in effect today. As we move along, you'll see our community safety officer. So this is a picture of Norm Kelso. He's taken over for our other officer, Troy Carlson, who is currently off. And Norm has done a fantastic job really integrating in the community, getting onto social media, attending events, and really trying to help us as an organization interact and embed the police in our communities. As you move through, I touched briefly on PC Kelso. He's our media representative as well. You see Ed Sanchuk on the news quite a bit, and I'm hoping you'll see Norm Kelso on there quite a bit as well as our representative. Really focus on community projects, which has been our focus of ATV patrols, marine patrols, and traffic safety. ATV patrols, I just submitted a decision note to get us new ATVs for Elgin County, and that's in direct response to concerns that have been raised from other municipalities within Elgin County requesting more police presence on our trails. And it's not simply for enforcement, but more so also for visibility. Our Marine unit had a very busy year this year with 48 calls for service and over 186 patrol hours, responding to boaters in distress, swimmers in distress, and missing and lost persons. And BAM, we did have a couple calls in BAM as well. As we move through, touches basically, this is our community street crimes unit, and this is highlighting some of the occurrences that we've had this year. They've had over 181 occurrences, over 131 judicial warrants have been executed, and over 197 people have been charged, resulting in over 1,000 charges. Some of the highlighted investigations here you may have heard of. In January 2021, there's a dump trailer investigation that was ongoing. There's a drug, weapons, counterfeit currency investigation in April of 2021, and that was basically resulting from a traffic stop. And if you scroll through, one that I was extremely proud of was our cocaine trafficking investigation, which occurred in August of 2021. So very shortly after my arrival at Detachment, the CSCU members were part of a joint investigation, which was extremely successful, resulting in over $100,000 in Canadian currency, large quantities of cocaine and other illicit drugs and substances, and getting 9 firearms off our streets. So I was extremely impressed with that. Below, you'll see some of the pictures from that seizure. As we move through, I'd just like to touch on some of our calls for service and our local detachment stats. You'll notice that between 2016 till 2021, our calls have been trending up. 2020 was the anomaly, obviously because of COVID. And right now, 2021, 2022, our calls are starting to trend back up as part of the reopening of Ontario. If we break it down by all calls for service by zone, you see Central Alberta had the highest call volume, and BAM, we're moving down the line in 4th overall calls for service. That is anything. That could be anything from a 911 hang up to a barking dog complaint. So that captures every call for service within our county. As we move down, the traffic safety plan, I touched on that. We have members assigned to our traffic management unit. They participate in all provincial traffic safety initiatives. They're also our direct response for community concerns, and they participate in all the festive ride programs in addition to our regular officers. Motor vehicle collisions. Unfortunately, this year we saw a dramatic spike in the number of our fatal motor vehicle collisions. I've had a regional analyst take an outside look to see if there was something that we were missing at Detachment, and there was no correlation between any of these collisions. Some were alcohol related, some were weather related, distracted driving. So there was no real nexus to really link all of these crashes together. And again, we look at that in terms of everyone's opening up, life is trying to come back to normal, and as such, our spike in those collisions. These stats represent our year-to-date in terms of fatal motor vehicle collisions and off-road motor vehicle collisions. We have received a dramatic increase, but for those factors that I just mentioned. If we try to break it down by month, you'll see that November was our busiest month this year in terms of collisions investigated. And if we break it down in terms of even digging down to primary causal factors, these are for mostly property damage collisions, and animal wildlife has been a big problem for us. We're not immune to it. If you look in our detachment parking lot, you'll see a number of partially destroyed and destroyed cruisers. And although we try our best, even our officers aren't immune to it. I didn't really understand the significance of it. Although I live in St. Thomas, I didn't really understand how significant it was until I actually got here and saw for myself. As we flow through, you'll see our crime prevention strategy. Our members are committed to crime prevention. And in terms of the violent crime, we have had 1 murder this year. There was no risk to public safety. It was a closed event, and that investigation is completely solved and is before the courts. As we move through for property crime, we have seen a spike in some of the property crime. Again, during COVID, we saw reductions in property crime with more people being home. Now that everything is opening, people are going back to work, as expected, we are seeing some of that trending up. However, we've been able to engage our analysts to really show us some of those hotspots and deploy resources in order to effectively deal with that. Crime Stoppers, as we move through, I was out of the stats that you'll see before you, what I was most pleased with is that we were able to recover over $177,000 in recovered assets and currency, which have been returned to the owners. And I was extremely impressed with that number right off the top. If you have the time to go through, you'll see the actual stats per month for how those stats were generated. Our financial reports, you'll notice that over 2022, the cost per property in terms of our billing model has reduced. And I'd love to say that that's based on all of the efficiencies we generated at Detachment, but in reality, it's a result of having less officers on the road provincially, which has resulted in cost savings to our taxpayers and a decrease in the base service cost. We'll break down our calls for service, and we are complying with the Auditor General's report. We were ahead of the curve, where we stagger our start times in accordance with the calls for service so that we can reduce overtime and try to really focus on the intelligence-led policing and deploy resources at peak times that you'll see here. That coincides with a 12 to 12 car and a 2 to 2 car that we have currently in place. Our revenue report, this is just a list of revenue collected on behalf of the municipality for the services that we provided through conducting criminal records checks at Detachment. And that's broken down per month. And as we move through, the RIDE grant, this is one of the applications that we submit for funding, for government funding, to go directly into our RIDE program. We did receive over $13,000 in 2021. I've just resubmitted a new RIDE grant, so I'm hopeful that we'll get the same funding for this year, which will really go directly back into our community and support our officers that are doing the RIDE checks. Below are just some of the photos. These are some of the photos that we attended for community events. The Port Burwell event was one that I was very happy to attend upon arrival at Detachment. As you know, the police haven't been overly welcome in some of the schools recently, and to be invited to come back to school, we made sure we went all out. We brought our Marine unit, we brought our CSO, we brought media, we brought officers, just to really engage back into the schools and try to really integrate ourselves back into the schools. Some of the photos you see Staff Sergeant Butler there and Sergeant McNorgan for Alzheimer's Awareness Month. And then below, the last 2 pages, you may or may not have interactions with our MCERT worker, Nadine. She's been a fantastic addition to Detachment, and we will like to try to bring her out to some future meetings. And then below are just some photos of some of the awards and recognition that we've had for our officers, either through retirement or excellent work done. You see the retirement pin being given there for Mike, and we're sad to see him go, but after 32 years of policing, he's ready to enjoy retirement. I apologize for going so quickly through the presentation, but I know you've had a chance to look at it. I know you have a busy agenda tonight. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Inspector. I really appreciate that offer, and I certainly appreciate the presentation you just gave and taking the time to be with us. I do have to admit that we do have a timed event at 7:30. We're running a little late. So if any member of council has any quick questions, I'll permit it, but we do have a public meeting we need to move on to. I would interpret silence, Inspector, that everyone is well satisfied. Again, thank you very much for your presentation. And again, welcome to Elgin County.
Thank you very much, and have a good night. I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to recess from our regular agenda so we can move into a statutory planning meeting. And I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7:34, and my apologies for the tardiness. Going to ask members for any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Just as a reminder, we're dealing with the application for John and Jennifer Clausen. Okay, moving on. The purpose and effect for the zoning amendment. We're talking about zoning amendment ZBA 822, submitted by John and Jennifer Clausen. The purpose of this bylaw is an amendment to change the zoning regulations on a 2,344 square meter, 0.58 acre parcel of land from a central business district and village residential C1 R1 zone to a site-specific central business district and village residential C1 R1 XX zone to permit a buffer strip of 3.2 meters, that's 10.5 feet, whereas 4.5 meters or 14.8 feet is the permitted minimum for the commercial building. And to permit a buffer strip of 1.8 meters or 5.9 feet, whereas 4.5 meters is the permitted minimum for the commercial building parking lot. To permit side yard setback of 20 or 0.25 meters or 0.82 feet, whereas 4.5 meters is a permitted minimum for commercial use abutting an open space, the OS zone in zoning. Bylaw Z 456, 2003. The subject lands are located on the west side of Plank Road, south of Heritage Line, known as 9253 Plank Road. The effect of this bylaw will be to permit an existing reduced buffer strip for the building to facilitate proposed building enlargement of the automotive parts business, to permit reduced buffer strip for the proposed parking lot associated with the enlargement, and to recognize the existing side yard setback, north side. The property is also subject to site plan control. And at this time, I would call for any public participation. Is there anyone on the line who wishes to participate? And third call for any public participation. Seeing none, I will ask, is there any correspondence with this application?
There's no correspondence, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any other business? And I don't believe there is. So then let's deal with the adjournment motion. That zoning bylaw be considered at the regular meeting of April the 21st, 2022, and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning application ZBA 0622 is now complete at 7:38 p.m. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Chilcott and Councillor Froese will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
and Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Well, let us resume then our regular agenda items, and I believe we left off at section 6, which was delegations, of which we have none this evening. So we are moving on to section 7, adoption of the minutes of the previous meetings. We have the regular council meeting held March the 17th, 2022, as well as the statutory planning meeting held March the 17th, 2022. Everyone's had opportunity to peruse the minutes. Are there any errors or omissions? With none being noted, then I would entertain a mover and seconder for the following: that the minutes of the council meeting and planning meeting held March the 17th, 2022 be adopted. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Weisler and Councillor Donald will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
and Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward with section 9, motions and notice of motion. I am going to ask the deputy mayor to assume the chair for item A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am assuming chair at 7:42 p.m. on my clock. So there is a motion before us, moved by Mr. Mayor Ketchabah. Do I have a seconder for that motion regarding large household waste pickup? I see a seconder, Councillor Chilcott. And before I read the motion, is there any discussion? Councillor Donnell.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Weiser. Could we see that motion brought up, please? On the screen, Megan?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Donnell. Yes, there we are.
Mhm.
And I wondered, would Mr. Mayor like to have any comments regarding your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Essentially, this is an opportunity, given the fact that we have had a relatively good year in 2021, resulting in some surpluses. We know that the residents have asked for an opportunity to, or a local solution for disposing of large household waste. And because of costing, we haven't been able to deliver that for them. Staff have been very diligent in identifying alternative locations of where they can take this. But given the fact that we may have an opportunity this year with sufficient resources, that it may be a time to provide a one-time only service. And this motion is simply asking for staff to do an investigation on costing and feasibility and bring back a report to council so that we can move forward and either plan an event or say we've given it a try. So I think it's worthy of at least asking for the investigation.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ketchabot. Yes, Sue, Councillor Donnell, or sorry, Councillor Chilcott.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify this large garbage pickup. It's to be picked up at your home and similar to what they do in Brownsville and other areas where you put your garbage out and the garbage company comes around and picks it up. You don't have to take it anywhere, correct?
If I may, through you to Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you. The intention was a curbside. Yes, that was what I'm asking for, an investigation on a curbside, and perhaps it should have been clarified within the motion. But I think staff understand what we're looking for, if passed.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Okay, Councillor Donnell.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't have any further questions. I would be willing to second the motion.
It's already seconded.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
sorry. Okay, so can I third it?
Yes, thank you very much. We do have Councillor Chilcott has seconded the motion. Is there any other questions from any council members?
Turn my hearing aid out.
Just one question, if I may, through to Thomas. I just wondered, Thomas, if there was any updates that you could provide from Norfolk County in regards to their pilot project.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to council. I don't have any updates. I do know that our manager of public works continues to collect some data. As I believe we mentioned in 2021 that there was a delay in them rolling out their curbside program, and I do believe it is user pay. It is a user fee program, but we are still collecting that data as the motion does indicate, and we'll likely have a report to council later this year with some more comprehensive information.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have a motion before us. Would you like me to read that motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have a motion before us moved by Mayor Ketchabot, seconded by Councillor Chilcott. Whereas due to excessive cost, the municipality of Bayham discontinued the large household waste pickup event as part of its waste disposal program. And whereas the municipality of Bayham has determined that the more recent past practice of an annual large household waste drop-off event held at the public work yard is too expensive and inefficient to municipal operations and has since discontinued the annual event. And whereas council received report PS-05/21, which outlined potential solutions for large item and hazardous waste disposal in Bayham. And whereas municipal staff continue to collect data in preparation of a report to council on Norfolk County's large household waste pilot program. And whereas the residents of Bayham have expressed a desire for a local solution to dispose of large household waste. And whereas the municipality of Bayham's 2021 year-end financial report included a favorable surplus for the municipality, which may provide sufficient available resources to fund a one-time large household waste disposal pickup event. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Bayham directs staff to investigate a report and report back on the feasibility of scheduling a one-time only large household waste pickup event for Bayham residents for 2022. And we'll bring that to a vote.
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler.
Yes,
Carried.
thank you for that. And back to you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Deputy Mayor, what's your clock say? I'll use your time to clock in, or I can use mine.
Yes, I have 7:48, Mr. Mayor.
We can go with that. Thank you. So I'll resume the chair at 7:48.
Mr.
Moving
Mayor,
on,
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor, Thomas?
just one item. After the presentation from the detachment commander, there was no motion passed to dispose of the item. So we will have to go back and make that motion to receive.
Thank you very much. In our haste to get to our public meeting, I've just rolled over that. So we'll back up, council, to section 5 presentations, just to close off with that event. The motion would read that presentation from Mark Lucas, Detachment Commander, regarding the 2021 annual OPP report be received for information. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Weiser and Councillor Froese will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler.
Yes, sorry.
Mayor Ketchabah,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. Now we'll move on with item B of section 9, motions. And this is a motion moved by Councillor Chilcott. I will read the motion and then we'll look for a seconder and move forward from there. Whereas the municipality of Bayham oversees and maintains the Richmond Community Park in the hamlet of Richmond. And whereas in September 2021, council considered an application to the Ontario Trillium Foundation Community Building Fund. And whereas during the above noted consideration, council deliberated an application for a basketball court in the Richmond Community Park and ultimately directed staff to submit an application for a different project. And whereas the municipality collects payment in lieu for parkland fees for severed lots and holds these funds in the Parkland Reserve Fund. Therefore, be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the municipality of Bayham directs staff to investigate and report back on the costs associated with the construction of a basketball court in the Richmond Community Park to be funded from the Parkland Reserve Fund. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Donald. Now, any discussion on that motion? Councillor Donald.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I guess, to Thomas. Has this been done before? Have funds been taken out of the reserve, Parkland Reserve, for a community park improvement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Donald. The reserve funds are there for improvements to parkland. So can't speak to whether we've directed funds out of this reserve fund specifically to basketball courts or other amenities in the municipality, but it is what the reserve fund is there for. It's for improvements in park space.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Councillor Chilcott, do you wish to close the debate?
Thank you. Yes, I would just feel that Richmond, we've had some people ask for a basketball court and they need some more activity there. Baseball's kind of dwindling down. So there's a lot of teenagers around that need something to do with their time.
Thank you for those comments. Everyone ready for the question? Then all in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes,
Mayor Ketchabah,
Yes.
carried.
Moving on with item C, we have Councillor Donald regarding a municipal accommodation tax. And I'll read the motion. It's moved by Councillor Donald Whereas short-term accommodations and rentals have grown, I believe that should be grown substantially in popularity in recent years. And whereas in May 2017, the province enacted Bill 127, Stronger, Healthier Ontario Act 2017, providing municipalities with an additional mechanism to fund and promote tourism. And whereas Bill 127 provides municipalities the authority to levy a transient accommodation tax, a hotel tax. And whereas on December the 1st, 2017, the Transient Accommodation Regulation 435-/17 came into force and effect, outlining provisions for Ontario municipalities to implement a municipal accommodation tax. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Bayham directs staff to investigate and report back on the benefits and challenges of implementing a municipal accommodation tax for the municipality of Bayham. Anyone interested in seconding that motion? Councillor Chilcott will second. Any discussion? Councillor Chilcott.
Thank you. Yes, I just think that we need to have a report before we can make a decision on something like this. It could be beneficial to BAM, and it could be something that we don't want to deal with, but we need to have the information before we can be doing something that's relevant.
Thank you for those comments, and I couldn't agree more. Again, the motion itself is asking for a preliminary staff report to get into this, open the door, so to speak. There are pros and cons that I think council needs to be aware of, and I think it'll be a lengthy engagement process should we wish to go down that road, involving public consultations and what for. So I think it's a worthy endeavor personally to take a look at. Any other comments and or items of debate for this? Councillor Donald.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to make one comment, and the fact is that with the MAT, or municipal accommodation tax, it would help lessen the burden on the permanent residents of the, well, for my instance, in the Port Burwell area, being it tourism and the residents are highly rented out. There's not quite as, I don't know exactly what the list would be, and that would be one of the things that we would have to accommodate, is to find out how many residences are permanent and how many are rentals. So I think it's a good thing to take a look at. I don't think we should be standing behind and waiting for the hammer to fall. I think it's good to get involved and find another way of generating some revenue that could help, depending on the split and the percentage and everything. But anyways, let's not get into all the details. That's to come yet. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those comments. Okay, are we ready for the vote on this motion? Seeing some heads nod. Okay, all in favor?
Councillor Donald,
Yes.
Councillor Froese,
Yes.
Councillor Chilcott,
Yes,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes,
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Moving on with, I believe, section 11, 11.2, reports to council. We have report PS 0622 by Ed Rollison, Manager of Capital Projects, Water Wastewater Operations, regarding the annual drinking water inspection report for Bayham and Richmond drinking water systems, 2021-2022. Good evening, Mr. Rollison.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. The reports before you this evening regarding our municipal drinking water systems of Bayham and Richmond are very favorable. I'd like to just provide a little bit of background information for council that the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks on an annual basis conducts rigorous and comprehensive inspections of our municipal drinking water systems with the objective of determining compliance with the requirements made under the Safe Drinking Water Act and associated regulations. The attachments before us this evening, very lengthy amount of inspection data. First being the BAM drinking water system. I would like to draw your attention, I believe it is in the second page of the report. Actually, right there, actually. Here, I would just like to draw to council's attention that during the inspection process, the inspector has provided information that is actually written up as what's called a BMP, or a best management practice. And this section specifically speaks to the use of fire hydrants, the use of drinking water for fire protection. And specifically, council recall, we have had a couple concerns of mainly the excessive use of fire hydrants. Specifically when there's calls for mutual aid. The inspector recognizes that fire protection is obviously a critical component. Water is available, however, it has to be used and managed accordingly. So I just wanted to draw your attention to this section of the report, and also comment that I've had an opportunity to meet both with the chief and our CAO to develop an action plan to address what the inspector has brought up here. So specifically, council will recall that the chief brought forward a information regarding fire flow testing that will take place, has been approved and will take place, I believe, this coming June. This will be a critical report, a critical study that will satisfy some of the issues that the inspector has brought forward here before you this evening. As part of the action plan that we've developed both with our CAO and with the chief, we've implemented a new line of communication so that when water is being drawn, specifically excessive amounts of water, that an open line of communication is there with the fire department or fire departments, right back to the water department. Specifically, communicate this information to me, that we can communicate back to the Port Burwell Secondary Operating Authority, which is the Ontario Clean Water Agency, and then ultimately right back to the water supply, which is the Elgin Area Water Treatment Plant, also operated by the Ontario Clean Water Agency. So all of this information, Your Worship, has been communicated to the inspector, and we've laid out our action plan. We are looking obviously to mitigate any concerns. And this is, I believe, essentially why the inspector has written this up as a best management practice. It does not, at this point in time, and for this inspection, has not impacted our overall rating, because I'm very pleased to report that we have received a 100% score for the BAM system. It is important, however, to recognize that if this BMP is not properly dealt with and properly managed in the future, that a BMP can turn into a non-compliance, which will scar our overall rating. So I'm confident with the action plan that we put in place that we will mitigate any of these other fire service concerns. So with that, Your Worship, this is the first attachment before us this evening. Again, a lot of technical data, but I'm very pleased with the outcome. I'll take any questions if there are any on this one, and then we'll move into the Richmond inspection.
Thank you, Ed, for that report. And I thank you again for bringing or drawing attention to the flow testing and the protocols being developed to mitigate water pressure issues on a fire emergency. And I think it's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed, and I'm certainly am pleased the way it has been addressed through this report from the ministry, as identifying, as you say, as a best management practice, and it gives us an opportunity to incorporate into overall operations. So yeah, thank you very much for that, and congratulations to you and your department on the score of 100% on this particular inspection. I've been on council for quite a few years, and you seem to be consistent in that average. So congratulations on that.
Thank you for that.
Councillor Chilcott.
Thank you. I just wanted to offer my congratulations as well. Well done, 100%, awesome. And also ask, the BMP is similar to what used to be called the Opportunities for Improvement. Is that similar?
Through your worship, to Councillor Chilcott, yes, this is a very similar referencing, I guess, yes, the inspector was he had an open ear to have a discussion on this, and was obviously in favor of recognizing it and writing it up as it wasn't a malicious concern to the water system. It's a process of educating and awareness, and coming up with the appropriate action plan so that essentially it doesn't happen again. So we're thankful we've got that relationship with the ministry.
Okay, any other questions for Ed on the BAM system? Okay, shall we move on to the Richmond report?
Yes, thank you, Worship. Again here, same type of structure, obviously Richmond being both water treatment and water distribution, where the BAM system is just strictly standalone distribution. The Richmond inspection is a little bit more complex. Again, a lot of technical data, and essentially cutting to the final outcome here, like the BAM system. Very pleased to report a 100% score for the Richmond system as well. I'm happy to take some questions, Your Worship, if there happen to be any.
Thank you for that. Megan, I was going to say, go down one more bookmark and you'll hit the Richmond report. One more down. There you go. Okay, again, congratulations on that, achieving that score for Richmond system as well. You've got some good things going on in your department. So please pass on, council's best wishes for your department, and congratulations for all of your staff. Any questions for Mr. Rollison on the BAM, or excuse me, the Richmond system? Yes, Councillor Donald.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, through you to Ed. It's not really a question, Ed. I read these reports and I am, wow. There's so much work involved, so much the paperwork that you guys are looking after, the monitors, and I'm glad it's your job. Thank you very much, and kudos for everybody.
Through your worship to Councillor Delisle, I thank you for that, and yes, I can't say enough for our team. And really we couldn't do what we do, without council making the decisions. This council, of course, and Ed had mentioned previously that he'd been on council for a long time, and this goes out to past councilors, council as well, for the decisions that they've made, the budgets that are approved. My team couldn't do it without the appropriate resources in play there. So thank you again for the kind words.
Perfect. Anything else for Ed on this? Okay, good job. We have a motion that reads a report PS 0622 regarding the Ministry Environment, whatever it is. MECP Annual Drinking Water Inspection Reports for Bayham and the Richmond Drinking Water System be received for information. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Donald will move. Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
A congratulatory yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Moving on with item B, report PS 0722 by Ed Rollison, Manager of Capital Projects, Water Wastewater Operations regarding Public Works 2022 capital projects, PW 17, PW 18, PW 19, and PW 105. Ed?
Thank you, Worship. Members of council, the report before you here is specifically related to the public works projects, specifically PW 17 Stafford Road, PW 05 is Clark Road, and PW 19 is a gravel program that was identified and approved in our recent capital budget process. Just like to jump into the discussions here and talk about why and what we're considering here, which is essentially repurposing some capital money for 2022. Specifically over the last 6 months, I've had conversations with our public works manager and our public works operations supervisor that we're recognizing a growing need to address a number of our gravel roads. Our main areas of concern have really been related to various degrees of precipitation, the intensity of precipitation that have caused, causing erosion, and just generally the road characteristics, specifically the traffic type and the volume that we're seeing on a number of our gravel roads. And really with all of that, it comes down to a lack of granular material required to maintain safe and stable road sections. So this is something that we've been looking at for a while, and this is why we're bringing this report before you this evening. And it's important to remember that we maintain a number of kilometers of gravel surface roads. And just as of recently, again, we've introduced gravel road granular material upgrades to our granular roads within our capital budgets for carrying in 2022 and moving forward $190,000 per year. Now, staff certainly acknowledges that it's the current financial environmental current financial environmental impacts that that we're currently in, and to deal with $190,000 worth of material really only does us about 7 kilometers worth of work. And with those recent concerns that I just identified, and those concerns are growing, we're suggesting that we could maybe consider repurposing some money. Specifically, with that said, the projects being Stafford Road and Clark Road, we've looked at these projects and we've identified them as Stafford was to receive a single coat of tar and chip this year. That road continues to have low traffic volume. It dead ends now currently, and the surface, its current surface, which is tar and chip, is in excellent condition, and it maintains an excellent road profile. Clark Road, which is a section between Glen Erie and Lakeshore Line, it's currently a gravel surface. We were considering a conversion of that road. It does have higher levels of traffic volume as compared to Stafford. However, it is also in good condition mainly due to some recent granular upgrades and some drainage upgrades. So with that, we've identified these roads really as, lower priority as compared to some of our other projects. And what we're suggesting is that we repurpose the value of those two roads, which is $150,000, over to the gravel program, so that we can essentially mitigate and deal with a number of gravel road concerns that we currently have. And if we want to come back and look at those roads in the future, they're not a concern right at the moment. But if we'd like to relook at those, we can bring those forward for council to consider for future capital budgets. So with that, Your Worship, that wraps up my report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them. And we do have a recommendation before you.
Thank you for the report, Ed. What good advice. Any questions for Mr. Rollison? Councillor Donald.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, through you to Ed. Ed, I know just, I don't think it was that long ago that we received some an email from a gentleman that travels those roads, and he was kind of upset that he felt that the roads were, Stafford and Clark, were kind of in need. So were any of these, the drainage and the other improvement on, was it Stafford or Clark? I think it was Clark that you mentioned. That was just done this past year in 2021? Or was that previously?
Through Your Worship to Councillor Donnell, the works that were done on Clark were done a couple of years ago. You may recall when traffic was rerouted around, when we did some closures there on Lakeshore Road, Lakeshore Line rather, that Clark Road was seeing higher traffic because of that. And yes, our public works forces did go in, made some significant improvements. And actually, the granular surface was built up with some reclaimed material when the county did storm drain work through the village of Vienna. So we were very fortunate to be able to work with them and capitalize on some reclaimed asphalt material that significantly helped to build up that section of Clark Road.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if we decide to move some of this money from that area to the other two roads that are in worse shape, but there's still ongoing, we always do ongoing maintenance and look at the shape of the roads during the year. So I would think that, I guess that's what you have also stated, that you will be looking at reevaluating, and if it requires maintenance, then that's what will happen. Correct?
Through Your Worship to Councillor, this is correct. Yes, we have the Ontario minimum maintenance standards that identifies the requirements for minimum maintenance of our roads, and yes, whether it be a tar and chip surface or a granular surface, we have a requirement for maintenance. And what we're suggesting here is that based on the condition of both Stafford, which is excellent, very low traffic volume, however, Clark does see more traffic currently. It is in albeit a granular road, it is in good condition also. We are suggesting that the $150,000 that we were going to invest in those two roads would be better spent towards our gravel program that would alleviate a lot more concerns and would help mitigate and keep us in compliance with those minimum maintenance standards.
Thanks, Ed.
You're welcome.
Councillor Chilcott.
Yes, I agree. If that $150,000 is better spent somewhere else to fix something up, it's more a need there than it is on the other places. The other places or the other roads, it's a want or a wish, where the gravel roads that need repair are needed.
Thank you for those comments. Deputy Mayor Weisler.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ed. Just a quick question, Ed. I don't know if there's any information funneling down the pipe, but it appears that these extreme weather conditions that we're having are something that we're going to have to be dealing with on a regular basis. And I wondered if the industry itself had made any indication to smaller municipalities like ours that have a lot of gravel roads, if they'll be adjusting their minimum maintenance standards to address some of these concerns, or if this is something that we're going to have to consider in our budget moving forward.
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor, I couldn't agree more that, you know, certainly we are all aware of climate change type of, you know, or significant weather events. You know, we know we are actively, you know, looking at, you know, storm drain funding in Port Burwell, but you know, let's not forget that this type of climate change and or weather events is causing havoc with our roads and our drainage networks. You know, the most important thing for our roads is to provide drainage, get the water away. Water is not our friend in our road networks. So yes, it's certainly more of a challenge for our public works crews. I can't speak to any potential amendments or any changes to the minimum maintenance standards. Maybe that might be something that, you know, you might be able to start up a conversation at the Good Roads Conference. There may be conversation about that. We're certainly not alone in this topic. So and yes, as we, you know, have more, you know, pressures with regulations, more pressures with, you know, liability insurance, there's more of a need, you know, to make sure that these road segments are safe, regardless whether tar and chip or granular surface.
Thank you for that question, Deputy Mayor. And from my perspective, I would think that the municipality itself is going to be challenged, and municipalities around us will be challenged in the future of maintaining those minimum maintenance standards in light of these extreme weather events as they become more normal. So it does have an impact on us. So since these minimum maintenance standards are driven from a provincial level, yeah, it would be an interesting conversation to have. Anything else for Mr. Wilson on this report? Then I have a motion that reads that staff report PS 0722 regarding Public Works 2022 capital projects PW 17, PW 19, and PW 105 be received for information, and that the 150,000 allocated in the 2022 capital budget for items PW 17 and PW 105 be repurposed to the 2022 capital gravel program, item PW 19. Anyone interested in moving and seconding that? Everyone does. Councillor Chilcott and Councillor Donald. All in favor?
Councillor Donald,
Yes.
Councillor Crose,
Yes.
Councillor Chilcott,
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes,
Mayor Ketchiba.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Moving on with item C, report PS 0822 by Steve Adams, Manager of Public Works, regarding the transfer of maintenance provider for agreement number 0753 and bylaw 2021-023, Port Burwell East Beach and Port Burwell Community Park washroom maintenance. Mr. Thayer, I understand you were standing in this evening for that.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, Mr. Adams could not make the meeting tonight, so I will be presenting his report on his behalf. So this report comes forward as part of the East Beach and Community Park maintenance agreement. As council will recall, last year, approximately around this time, council approved a bylaw to authorize an agreement with PK Property Maintenance for the years 2021 through 2025. In the amount of $1,015 plus HST weekly for the ongoing maintenance of the washrooms at the Port Burwell East Beach and the Port Burwell Community Park. The agreement was to be in place for that 5-year period with 2 one-year mutual options for extension. And seasonally, this would be in place May 1st through September 30th each year, which is approximately a 22-week period. Steve's report does note that earlier this year, we were advised by PK that they wish to terminate their agreement. However, they have proposed a solution in that one of their employees that was previously associated with the maintenance firm is willing to take over under a different umbrella. So really, this is more of a housekeeping transfer of responsibility from PK to Elgin Property Maintenance. The same terms would apply. So should council wish to entertain this option, and for ease of transfer, it is recommended that the existing agreement with PK be terminated and a new agreement with the same terms and conditions be entered into with Elgin Property Maintenance for the balance of the term until 2025 at the same weekly rate. So with that, I will take questions.
Thank you for the report, Thomas. Any questions for staff? Okay, as you mentioned, Thomas, rather a housekeeping item, and thank you for bringing that forward. We have a proposed motion that reads that report PS 0822 regarding the transfer of maintenance provide for agreement number 0753 and bylaw 2021-23, Port Burwell East Beach and Port Burwell Community Park washroom maintenance be received for information. And that council terminate the existing service agreement with PK Property Maintenance, and that council authorize the execution of a service agreement with Elgin Property Maintenance for maintenance of the Port Burwell East Beach and Port Burwell Community Park washrooms under the same terms and conditions as the agreement with PK Property Maintenance, and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward for council consideration. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Froese will move. Councillor Donald will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, moving on with section 12. And that'd be 12.1.1 to receive for information. We have item A, notice of public meeting regarding proposed minor variance A 2321. B, notice of public meeting regarding proposed minor variance A 0222. C, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0822. Does anyone have any questions or require clarification on any of these items? Then the motion reads that items 12.1.1 through C be received for information. And you need a mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Weisler and Councillor Froese will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Moving on to sections 12.2, reports to council. Item A, report DS 1222 by Bill Nifton, Chief Building Official, Drainage Superintendent, regarding the first quarter report. Wearing another hat this evening, Mr. Thayer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is part of the job. I am presenting this report on behalf of Bill Nifton tonight. First quarter report for 2022. So I will first direct staff, or direct council rather, to the building services table, which notes that the building department has had a very busy year to start off 2022. 47 permits were issued, construction value of a shade under $7.2 million, which is more than the previous 2 years combined, with 9 houses, 4 farm buildings, and 34 others. So that's a total of 47. So our building department is very, very busy. And for drainage, drainage does note that the Hampton drain, the design has been completed, and the engineering report, as per the drafting of this report, will be provided shortly. We have received this report, and we'll be bringing a staff report under Mr. Adams' signature to council on the 21st of April to start the process with respect to the Hampton drain. No drain maintenance was done in Q1, and the recommendation is to receive for information. With that, I am available for questions.
Thank you for that report. Any questions for Thomas or observations? The only observation I have, Thomas, is it's astounding, the level of building activity that continues to amaze me. It would suggest to me that, again, that Bayham is, it's got to be recognized as a desirable location to want to invest. And I am really grateful for that. Must be a good reputation out there, and people are seeing what they like and they're coming in. So I find that really, really interesting and really comforting. So we have a motion that reads that report DS 1222 regarding the first quarter report we received for information. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Weiser, Councillor Donald will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, moving on to item B, report DS 1522 by Margaret Underhill, Deputy Clerk Planning Coordinator, regarding rezoning application ZBA 0622, Hildebrand. Marg.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the application, or the report with application before you is to rezone property on Light Line. And they are looking to construct an oversized accessory building. And the application's been reviewed. It does meet the requirements for zoning as per staff and the planner. And I would like to also mention that there were 2 items of correspondence received for the public meeting. And both concerns were similar in that they were looking at water quality and quantity concerns, if there was anything that would affect those 2 items, as well as the location, to have clarification of the location of the workshop. And as I put in my report, I addressed all of their concerns and did respond back to the 2 neighbors, and they were satisfied with my responses. So there was no further communication about any additional issues. Long Point Conservation Authority was consulted as well. They do have some regulated lands on this property. However, the workshop is going to be located outside of those regulated lands, so LPRCA does not have any concerns. So the recommendation before you is for the rezoning to allow for the oversized workshop in the location proposed in the application. And I leave it with you, Your Worship.
Thank you for that report, Marg. Does anyone have any questions or comment for this particular report? Okay, certainly gratified, Marg, that you're able to address the concerns expressed by the neighbors, and look forward to seeing the development move forward should council choose to adopt and approve this. We have a motion that says Report DS 1522 regarding the Hildebrandt rezoning application ZBA 0622 be received for information. And that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73 Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015. It be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held March the 17th, 2022, associated with this application, there were 2 written submissions acknowledged and no oral presentation received regarding this matter, and that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution, and that zoning bylaw number Z 456/2003 as amended be further amended by changing the zoning on a property owned by Willem and Agatha Hildebrandt, located on concession 3, lot 17, known as 55881 Light Line, from estate residential zone to site-specific estate residential zone, ER 10 zone, to permit for combined accessory building floor area maximum for 228 square meters for the existing personal storage accessory building with a 50.2 square meter floor area and proposed additional accessory building for personal storage with 177.3 square meter floor area, and to recognize the existing hobby farm operation with floor area maximum of 228 square meters in the existing barn. And that zoning bylaw Z 738/2022 be presented to council for enactment. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Donald will move. Councillor Froese will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Moving on with report DS 16/22 by Marg Underhill, Deputy Clerk Planning Coordinator, regarding consent application E2322, Ag Invest Farmland 1 Inc.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to council. The report is to consider a severance of a surplus farm dwelling on a property on Heritage Line. The application's been reviewed and analyzed, and the planner's memorandum is attached to the report, showing support for the severance of the surplus farm dwelling. You'll see in the listed conditions, we are including our standard conditions for this type of application. In addition, this property is in the Delhi Drain watershed.
Mhm.
So by the creation of a separated lot, it is necessary that the drainage assessment schedule be revised to include this separated lot as opposed to being lumped in with the farm parcel. So I have included a condition that that revised assessment schedule be conducted, and that the cost would be at the owner's expense in order to do that, because it is development and the owner would be responsible for that. So that condition is included, and I will leave it with you, Your Worship.
Thank you for that report, Marg. Any questions for Marg on this consent application? Seeing none, we have a motion that reads that report DS 1622 regarding consent application E2322 for Ag Invest Farmland 1 Inc. be received for information. And that council recommend to the Elgin County Land Division Committee that consent application E2322 be granted, subject to the following conditions and considerations. 1, rezoning of the severed lot from agricultural A1A to rural residential zone and the retained lands from agricultural A1A to special agricultural A2 to prohibit new dwellings. 2, municipal road access permit required for access to the retained lands from Coyle Road. 3, purchase of civic number signage for the retained parcel. 4, planning report fee payable to the municipality. 5, digital copy of the final survey provided to the municipality. 6, that the applicant initiate and assume, if required, all engineering costs associated with the preparation of a revised assessment schedule in accordance with the Drainage Act, RSO 1990, as amended, with a deposit to be paid in full to the municipality prior to the condition being deemed fulfilled. If the deposit does not cover the cost of the revised assessment schedule, the applicant will be billed for any additional costs incurred. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Donald and Deputy Mayor Weisler will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Item number D, report DS 1722 by Margaret Underhill, Deputy Clerk Planning Coordinator, regarding site plan agreement 9707808 Canada Inc. 4688 Godby Road. Marg.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to council. The report is in response to a request from the landowner to extend the site plan agreement that was approved in March of 2021. The owner has expressed their difficulties due to COVID to get the project up and going, and they would like to have an extension of 1 year. So it's before you for consideration, Your Worship.
Thank you for that. Does anyone from council have any questions or concerns? All right, we have a motion that reads that report DS 1722 regarding the 9707808 Canada Inc. site plan agreement extension be received. And that council agrees to extend the 9707808 Canada Inc. site plan agreement approved by bylaw number 2021-016 as expired on March 18th, 2022 for an additional time period expiring on March the 18th, 2023. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Froese and Councillor Donald will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Moving on to section 13, finance and administration, correspondence, and 13.11 to receive for information. We have item A, the Elgin County regarding the March 22, 2022 Elgin County highlights. B, Telsmere District Memorial Hospital regarding the COVID outbreak declared March 29th, 2022. C, County of Elgin regarding the Platinum Jubilee of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, commemorative pins. Item D, Elgin County regarding notice of lease renewals for Elgin County Library branch. Item E, Township of Chapel regarding the expansion of Northern Ontario School of Medicine. Item F, Municipality of Mississippi Mills regarding abandoned cemeteries. Item G, City of Port Colborne regarding Year of the Garden 2022 proclamation. H, City of Barrie regarding plan of action to address joint and several liability. And item I, Town of Georgina regarding limitations on purchasing goods originated from Russia. Any comment or any item here that anyone wants to discuss further? Councillor Donald.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Excuse me, losing it. My voice, that is. I was noticing in the Elgin County highlights that the Terrace Lodge was looking for more committee members for their board. Oh, what is it? God, I can't see it, so I'm.
Well, you're absolutely correct. And if you have a little more patience, Councillor Donald, it's coming up under section 13.1.2 requiring action.
Oh, okay. Well, I can wait. Thank you.
Okay, but thanks for drawing attention to that. Deputy Mayor Weisler.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I wondered with number C, regarding the Platinum Jubilee and the pins.
Mhm.
There is, this is actually quite interesting, and there is a nomination available, and I just wondered if perhaps staff could put that on our website.
All right. I believe that's the whole intention, Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was distributed across the region. Karen, our MPP, or excuse me, MP, has a certain number to distribute across the riding, and she's looking for nominations. That's my understanding.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. Megan, can you just pull up the item there that you've got the clicker over? Yeah. So we would, we'd be putting it on the website.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that it would be there for anyone wishing to nominate anyone in those specific categories for a pin within BAM, that they would have the information available to them on the website. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Once received by council, we can have it up early next week.
Great. Any other item? Okay. Then I need a mover and seconder for the following, that items 13.1.1A through I be received for information. Mover and seconder. Councillor Donald, Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor.
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, now moving on to 13.1.2. Item A, Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Fundraising Committee regarding the BAM committee member. Okay. Does anyone wants to speak to this? Councillor Chilcott.
Yes, I was that member, but they have their meetings at a time which I could not attend them. And so I declined that position, and I thought somebody was filling in for me, and apparently that never did happen. So I'm sorry that I missed it.
Okay. My understanding completely is it does not necessarily need to be a council member, or it could be a member from the community at large, but they are looking for someone to participate on behalf, or at least represent BAM on this committee. Councillor Donald.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I was wondering if an invitation could be extended to Mr. William Gazen, since Bill has a lot of background concerning senior homes. I thought maybe he might, if he's got time, but yeah, I was wondering if that invitation could be extended to him.
Well, anything's possible. That's a recommendation from you to reach out to the community. How would you like that to be done?
Well, I've never done this before, so I don't know. Thank you.
I'm asking, do you want a member of council to reach out? Do you want staff to reach out on behalf of council to
Sure.
solicit participation?
I would ask staff to do it if they would.
Is that something staff would be comfortable with doing, Thomas?
I think staff would be more comfortable if we were to open it up to the general public, but since it's not council appointing a council member, we'd have to reach out to Elgin County to find out how they would like us to ideally solicit from the community, because it would have to be based on some sort of application or some kind of merit, I would assume. So we'd reach out and confirm that with the county and then make it public.
All right, Councillor Donald.
Well, then why don't we just put it out to the public? Like,
Well, I think what staff are suggesting is get a protocol in place on what they're looking for, and then put it on the
Okay.
website or something and advertise or try to solicit interest. Is that what you're telling me, Thomas?
That is correct.
okay,
Okay.
got it. Thank you.
Councillor Chilcott?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say to anybody that's out there listening and is interested in this, the Terrace Lodge project is a great project. They've been fundraising and putting an addition on. Place is going to be absolutely fantastic when it's done, and they really do need the help. And I was very interested in it, and I hope somebody will step up and help them out, because it's really well needed.
Thank you for those comments. And as the correspondence would indicate that they've been very successful in the first year, but they are looking for volunteers across the county. They're still missing Bayham's representative, of course, and would like to have everyone on board because these homes or this home is open to everyone across the county, not specifically the East End. So keeping that in mind, it's a county-wide initiative, and these are to fund those lifestyle and amenities, which, as you say, enhance the quality of living in this particular facility. So yes, it's a great endeavor and one that if anyone's interested in, stay tuned. Once staff get what they're looking for from the county and have that put up on the website. And I assume that's a direction that staff will take. Do you need a motion on that, Thomas, other than to receive for information?
We can do receive for information, and that the vacancy on the, let me just confirm the item, the Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Fundraising Committee be opened up to all residents of Bayham.
Fantastic. That's the motion, ladies and gentlemen, that have been that's on the books. Anyone interested in moving and seconding? Councillor Chilcott will move. Councillor Donald will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler
Yes.
and Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Item 13.2, reports to council. Item A, report CAO 1222 by Thomas Thayer, CAO clerk, regarding the 2022 municipal election. Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of 4 reports for me tonight. This one is some follow-up information stemming from one of the deputy clerk's reports from the last council meeting. So on the March 17th meeting, council passed the motion to approve the vote method, to approve an updated use of corporate resources for election purposes policy. And the report did note that further information regarding voting places for the 2022 municipal election will be forthcoming. These are contained in the report. For a little bit of a preamble here, the Municipal Elections Act outlines responsibilities of the clerk pertaining to municipal elections. So the clerk is responsible for authorizing at their discretion advanced polling locations, number and location of voting places, and establishing a strategy for ensuring that vote places are accessible. So this is clerk discretion. This is not under council jurisdiction, which is why it is coming forward as an information report. So the report does outline how we approach the 2022 election for vote places. To ensure an accessible election, we did a review of the 2018 voting places where the following facilities were assessed in 2018. The SCC, the VCC, both fire halls, the Corinth Community of Christ Church, and the Lighthouse Gospel Church in Port Burwell. As council is aware, in 2018, the municipal election was conducted using the SCC, the Corinth Community of Christ Church, and the Lighthouse Gospel. So for the 2022 election, myself and the deputy clerk evaluated the 3 facilities that were utilized in 2018 to confirm that nothing had changed and that they were still accessible, utilizing Election Canada's polling place suitability checklist. And we did confirm this. So staff are recommending the use of the same facilities and have already reached out, attended, and confirmed use of the Corinth Community in Christ Church and the Lighthouse Gospel Church for voting day. So staff will be applying the Municipal Elections Act and having 5 advanced voting days. These days are noted in the report. They will be varying hours. A couple of them will be until 7 p.m. to allow those who have day jobs and work out of town to be able to vote in the evenings. There are a couple also on Saturdays for that flexibility as well, all located at the Straffordville Community Center. This is consistent with the approach taken in 2018. And the vote places for election day are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. The locations noted. The SCC for Ward 2 Lighthouse Gospel Church for Ward 1 in Port Burwell, and the Corinth Community of Christ Church in Ward 3. And these are also consistent with what was done in 2018. As the Straffordville Hall Foundation handles all the hall bookings for the SCC, they have already been advised of the advanced poll and election dates and times. Eligible electors will be able to vote at any of the advanced polling locations and voting places established for the 2022 municipal election. And just a little bit more information. This was included in a similar report from the previous CAO clerk in 2018 when they had a candidate information session. I wanted to do the same. So 2022 municipal election candidate information session is held Wednesday, April the 27th, 2022, 7 to 9 p.m. at the East Elgin Community Complex in Elmer. The session is being hosted by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs on behalf of Elmer, Bayham, and Malahide. Registration for this session is available on the municipal website and is being handled through the Township of Malahide. With that, I am available for questions.
Thank you for that report. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, we have a motion that reads it's report CAO 1222 regarding the 2022 municipal election be received for information. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Weisler and Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes, sorry.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Item B, report CAO 1322 by Thomas Thayer, CAO clerk, regarding the 2022 procedural bylaw update for virtual meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is very much a housekeeping. Council, as council is aware, has been conducting virtual meetings since January of 2021. So we have been completely virtual since that point in time. The way the procedural bylaw is currently drafted under section 6.16 is that it does permit virtual meetings, but only during declared states of emergency. So the County of Elgin and numerous lower tier municipalities have had discussions and are planning to lift the existing declaration of emergency effective April the 8th. So based upon the way the procedural bylaw is currently written, there is no provision to conduct virtual meetings and or permit electronic participation outside of a declared state of emergency. So in accordance, staff are recommending that section 616 of the procedural bylaw be renamed and amended to permit electronic participation generally, with the suggested revised language included below, and also included in a bylaw later on the agenda should council wish to move forward. Ultimately, the way that the proposed amendment is written is that it would apply to all sessions of a meeting, whether open or closed, and it would apply to all meetings conducted, virtual council meetings conducted during existing states of emergency or generally. So the inclusion of general ability to conduct virtual meetings and participate electronically provides council the added flexibility regarding the nature of how meetings are held. And when technology allows, it will also permit hybrid meetings where a member or members of council by desire or circumstance may not be able to attend in person. So the amending bylaw is included in the bylaws section for council's review, and I am available for questions.
Thank you for that report, Thomas. Any concerns or questions? Councillor Chilcott.
Thank you. I just had one question, and in there I read that if it's virtual, the person will be asked twice for their vote, and after that it'll be considered no. What happens when that the internet is down or they've lost connection and they obviously are trying to vote?
That would be circumstantial. It would depend on the situation. So if a member is trying to remote in and they're unable to vote, if we still have quorum in place, then we just move forward with the vote. Their vote would be substantiated as a no. Now it would be a little bit different if we had, say, a quorum 3 of 5 and a member dropped out, then we wouldn't necessarily have quorum for the vote. So we would have to wait for them to reconnect, or we'd have to suspend the vote on the item.
Thank you.
Councillor Donald.
Yes, thank you. Through you to Thomas. would the member not be able to call in and vote in a
Would have to go-
situation like that?
I'm just confirm with council that the wording in the proposed amendment is verbatim what is currently in section 616. So there is no change to the language, except that it applies generally. And then it has a section that says it would also apply under a declared state of emergency. So there is no change to what council has been utilizing over the last 15 or so months. But if a councillor did drop out and did call in, for instance, then should that technology be permitted or deemed permitted and suitable by the clerk, then they would be able to use that and provide their vote. The only I guess complication I get would be their vote would have to be audible and would have to be heard over the technology to the members of the public who are listening in remotely.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else? Seeing none, we have the following motion that report CAA 1322 regarding procedural bylaw updates for virtual meetings be received for information, and that the appropriate amending bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration. I need a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Donald will move, Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Item C, report CAO 1422 by Thomas Thayer, CAO clerk, regarding hybrid council meetings for the municipality of Bayham.
Thank you once again, Mr. Mayor. So this report comes forward as a follow-up to the municipality's Ontario Trillium Foundation application for technology to support hybrid council meetings. As council is aware, we did make an application in early December. We did find out last week that we were unsuccessful with the grant application. So this report comes forward from that. If council should deem it desirable to do so, council may request that staff procure the technology and soundproofing necessary to facilitate a hybrid meeting solution. In discussion with the treasurer, this work may be funded through working capital. The hybrid meeting solution would allow for a flexible platform for public participation in council meetings while addressing lingering COVID-19 and public gathering concerns. This report does not provide a recommendation, rather it is seeking council's direction if a hybrid meeting solution is desirable for Bayham at this time. And the estimated cost provided of a little over $20,000 is what we had used to apply for with the grant. We would expect that the cost would be inflated somewhat from this estimate, but likely still under $25,000. And the treasurer has confirmed that there are funds available in working capital for this. So with that, I will leave it with council. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Disappointing that we were not successful through the Ontario Trillium Foundation. You can't win them all. Any comments, or it's open for discussion? Anything from council members? Deputy Mayor Weisler.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps just a comment, if I may, in that, as horrible as COVID was, it has provided us with a different level of technology that in a way we can look at as convenient. And with the last motion we just passed, I think if we're going to be looking at the opportunity to attend meetings virtually in the future, I think this is something that we have to really consider and get on board with. So I would be in support of going ahead with this, despite the unfortunate fact that we have not received any grant funding for such a endeavor. But I do think this is something that we're going to be seeing a lot more of in the future, and I think we need to really consider this. That's just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Froese.
Yes. I believe this would be a very good decision for the next council to make, because it is going to affect us very little this current council. So I think, and although I am in support of it, but I believe it would be best left for the next council.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Donald, did you have your hand up, or?
I don't know if I did or not.
Well, that's okay, then you can rescind comment.
No, I could say something. Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's a good idea to have continue on with virtual meetings, but I have to agree with Councillor Froese that I think it should be put forward to the next council. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Any other comments from anybody? Okay, I have a question for Thomas. Thomas, regarding the AODA requirements that are coming forward in 2025, are virtual, or excuse me, are hybrid meeting solutions going to be something that the municipality is eventually going to have to adopt and as a part of doing business?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not aware of any requirement at this time. I'd have to do a little bit more research. What I do know is that if you are doing virtual or hybrid meetings, and those videos are posted, then they have to be fully accessible. And I believe they are moving towards some form of similar live captioning or what have you for live streams, and that's being discussed. But I can't speak to whether it's going to be mandated in any way to have an alternative meeting format such as virtual.
Okay. Well, I obviously council will vote as they see fit on this one, and we're looking for, staff are looking for some particular direction. It's been suggested by one member of council to proceed and get it done. Councillor, I have two hands up, and as I was trying to speak here.
Sorry.
Okay, Thomas first. I seen you first.
Just one comment, kind of tangential to what we're discussing, but given the previous staff report and the likelihood of the declaration of emergency being lifted, I did want to mention that should council deem it desirable to do so, we could move back to in-person meetings effective May the 5th. And if council is amenable to that, we can move forward on that as well. I don't necessarily need direction, but general consensus would be a good place to start. We wouldn't be able to do April the 21st as notices for planning have already gone out noting a virtual meeting. So the earliest we could go back to in-person meetings would be May the 5th.
Right, and under current technology, once we go back in person, there will be no virtual broadcasting because we don't have the capability.
That is correct.
That's the point that I think Deputy Mayor was maybe suggestive towards. We know that that there have been some in the community who are suggesting that it's an essential. Whether I agree or not is irrelevant. It's simply that's a request that's out there. I think that if we wanted to and the funds are available and that we weren't successful in getting the OTF grant, then the avenue is there to pursue it. And it certainly might remove one of those criticism points out there that if we go back to in person, we wouldn't no longer be able to have a virtual presence during our meetings. However, I think we must put this out here and suggest that if we direct staff to bring in the hybrid solution, it's unlikely that this thing is going to be available till midsummer, maybe the third quarter even. Keeping that in mind. Yes, Thomas?
I just will confirm that leading up to this meeting, I did reach out to Franklin Construction, who provided the quote for the soundproofing, and they advised that they are booking up into August currently. They may be able to move us up a little bit, but you're right. It likely would not be something that would be implemented until the summertime. It is contingent on the availability of county IT for the technological upgrades and a contractor for the works for the soundproofing.
Yes, thank you for that. So I guess what I'm trying to suggest, regardless of which direction you wish to go, council, the implementation of a hybrid meeting environment is still probably third quarter at earliest. If you wish to put that off to the next council, well, that's a decision you can do. I'm thinking that it'd be progressive just to move ahead and do it. If this is something, but still there's going to be a few months there where if someone wants to participate from a public point of view of observing, they're going to have to visit us in chambers. So, Deputy Mayor Weisler.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Thomas. If I could just ask a question of clarification. There has been in the past some comments during budget discussions that talk about the current council chamber and how it's difficult for connectivity down there, in addition to the sound. If we were to move forward with this hybrid council upgrade, or the meeting upgrade, would that mitigate some of those concerns from the community about the condition of the existing council chamber?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I would suggest it would. We did meet on site with County IT when they were quoting us out for the works for the grant, and they are aware of the, it's a basement, it's concrete. Our main, IT is 2 levels above. So there would be a little bit of work from a connectivity perspective, but they were made aware of it, and it is included in the cost of the upgrades that's in front of council.
I would also like to point out, Deputy Mayor, where do you think I'm participating from this evening?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I am aware. I also know when during council meetings, I've had issues with connectivity down there. So it's just, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, I guess.
Technology, wonderful. Councillor Donald.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. One thing I think that we're talking about, the hybrid, we don't sit that much through the summer, do we? It's July and August. It's perhaps 1 meeting each month. So I mean, really, yeah. So it's cutting down on that too. So, okay, thank you. Just using outside the.
Okay, again going back to where we started here. I've got 2 opinions of deferring until the next council, and I have 1 opinion of stepping ahead and doing this. I'm good either way. I would almost encourage us to go ahead and do this. The funds are available at this point. We didn't get the grant. That's disappointing, but we still have funds available to do it. So, who wants to put a motion on the floor? Deputy Mayor Weisler.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I will put a motion forward to go ahead and proceed and direct staff to proceed with the hybrid council meeting option and funding. I will move that.
Okay, so now I'll read the motion off again and make sure I've got it. That report CAO 1422 regarding the hybrid council meetings for the municipality of Bay be received for information, and that council directs staff to, would it be installed, Thomas? Go ahead.
I do have some chicken scratch wording here, if you'll allow me, Mr. Mayor. So the second part of that motion would be that, and that staff proceed with the procurement of the technology and soundproofing needed to support hybrid meetings, and that the project be funded from working capital.
All right, that is a proposed motion moved by the Deputy Mayor. Is there someone willing to second that motion? Councillor Chilcott? All right, any further discussion on this? Councillor Donald?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I feel that the hybrid is inevitable. So saying that, I can say that whether we pass this tonight or further in the future council, I think it's inevitable. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those words. Councillor Chilcott?
Thank you. Yes, that was my thoughts, that it's inevitable. It does need to be done. And if we wait till the future, it's going to be more expensive.
Well, there is that risk. Absolutely. Any further discussion? Okay, I call the question. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froze,
Not against it, but I believe the timing is off, so no.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes,
Mayor Ketchabah,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you for that. Moving on with report CAO 1522 by Thomas Thayer, CAO clerk, regarding shared municipal development services RFP update. Thomas.
Thank you once more, Mr. Mayor. This is a brief informational report for council. As council is aware, on November 18th, 2021, council received correspondence from the Township of Malahide regarding a possible development approvals, shared service and electronic processing business plan, funded through a grant that Malahide had received through the Municipal Modernization Program Intake 2. They were reaching out to ascertain BAM Council's interest in supporting the exploration of a shared building planning and bylaw enforcement service. Council at the time passed the motion below to collaboratively explore a development approval shared service business plan with the Township of Malahide with respect to building planning and bylaw enforcement services. So in accordance with the above motion, staff have been working closely with Malahide to move this process forward. To date, an RFP has been drafted and advertised through Malahide's bids and tenders website. It closed on March 18th, and staff from both municipalities have reviewed the submissions. Malahide's council is receiving a report tonight, actually, to formally award the RFP, which will allow Malahide and BAM to continue the process by working closely with the successful vendor. While no formal timeline is in place as of the drafting of this report, it is hoped that the review will be complete late Q2, early Q3 of this year, and options will, at that time, be presented to council. So just as a note that, staff do note that building services for the municipality of BAM has been busy this year, busier than either of the two previous years. I believe it is the busiest Q1 we've ever had. And our CBO, Bill Nifton, did just retire. We do have a temporary part-time contract with Mr. Paul Hillenar, doing a great job so far, but this will allow us to look into the options to provide a more, say, permanent solution. And also note that our bylaw department has been extremely busy. Council will be receiving a staff report at the April 21st meeting from the fire chief and bylaw enforcement officer that will show stats for 2021, and our stats are up, but still maintaining quite a high closure rate on bylaw files. And in discussion with our planning coordinator, last year we had 18 rezoning applications, so we've already received 13 this year, and that's on top of official plan amendment applications, consents, minor variances, and subdivision applications that are in the works. So all three functions are extremely busy. We are very much looking forward to seeing what options might come forward out of this exploratory review to see if there's a way to not only streamline things, but potentially save costs as well, and do so with our municipal partner next door. So with that, I'm available for questions, and the recommendation is to receive for information.
Thank you for that report, Thomas. I, too, am always interested in developing synergies which benefit the residents of this community. And, I look forward to the results of that investigation. Actually, if there's a way that we can cost share or share services or something and achieve efficiencies, hey, that's the way to go. It's all whatever we can do for our residents. So I do look forward to that. Does anyone have any questions for Thomas or comment on this? Deputy Mayor Weisler.
yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to Thomas, do we know if we had a good response? I know there, retention and attraction is been difficult. So I just wondered if we had a good response.
Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, are you referring to the RFP itself? My understanding is that there were about a handful of vendors that downloaded, but there were only I think there were a couple that reached out to Malahide. I believe they received one submission, but it was with a firm that was, I guess, already apprised of what might be coming down the pipe. And the scoring was indicative of a strong application. So the vendor that we were able to get, despite the low numbers, was, we'll say they're well equipped to do this sort of work. So Malahide's council is considering tonight, and then fingers crossed to move forward.
Perfect. Okay. Again, look forward to the work that comes out of this, and hopefully keep her, as you say, keep her fingers crossed, and perhaps we can end up sharing some services with Malahide. The motion reads that report CAO 1522 regarding shared municipal development services RFP update be received for information. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Froese, Councillor Donald will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Moving on with section 14, the bylaws. We have two bylaws this evening. Bylaw number Z738, 2022, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z456, 2003, as amended. Hildebrand. We have bylaw number 2022-027, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2022-003, being a bylaw to govern the proceedings of council of the municipality of Bayham and of its committees and the conduct of its members. So mover and seconder for the following, but I should ask first, are there any questions regarding the bylaws? Okay, so the motion would be that bylaw Z738, 2022 and 2022-027 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Chilcott will move. Councillor Donald will second. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
yes,
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Section 15 unfinished business, section 16 other business. I don't believe we have any in either. Section 17, the confirming bylaw. So I need a mover and seconder that the confirming bylaw 2022-28 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Do I have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Weisler, Councillor Donald. All in favor?
Counselor Donald,
Yes.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
yes,
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
All right. That moves us down to the adjournment motion. And Thomas, I think it's safe to say that the plan is to rescind our state of emergency tomorrow at 10 a.m.
That is correct. That is currently the plan.
All right. And then, as you had already mentioned to us in open session, we will be virtual again on the 21st of April. But I do look forward to moving to in-person in May. And I would assume that once we begin those proceedings, from an in-person point of view, with the state of emergency being lifted, it will then be time to start to reactivate some of our standing committees that we have. So
That's correct.
yeah, just giving a bit of a notice out there to those who may be listening that we're getting there. It's been a long 25 months, but we're getting there, getting back to business as normal. And I hope that everybody stays safe and continues to progress in a safe way, so we all get back to normal. And I think we're all just fatigued with COVID. Anyway, having said that, we have the adjournment motion before us that the council meeting be adjourned at 9:19 p.m. Is there anyone interested in moving that? I think Councillor Froese is, and Councillor Donald was a close second. So she can, yes, second that. All in favor?
Counselor Donald.
Yeah.
Counselor Froese,
Yes.
Counselor Chilcott,
yes.
Deputy Mayor Weisler,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, again, thank you to those all who joined us this evening, and thanks for taking an interest in local government. We look forward to being with you again. The next meeting is the 21st of April. So have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please stand by while I end the live stream. I would ask council to mute your mics.